All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're tearing apart a book that basically turned the whole idea of wealth on its head. It's called The Millionaire Next Door. And I'm telling you, what the authors found is going to make you rethink everything you thought you knew about money.
Okay, let me ask you something. When you hear the word millionaire, what's the first image that pops into your head? For most of us, right, it's the stuff you see all over social media. The Lamborghinis, the sprawling mansions, the designer clothes, this whole lifestyle of just non-stop spending. Well, what if I told you that entire picture is almost completely wrong? You see, after 2 decades of intense research, the authors of this book realized that image is pretty much a fantasy. They learned that when it comes to money, what you see is rarely what's actually there. And this whole idea is just perfectly summed up by this fantastic old Texan saying,
Big hat, no cattle. I love that, right? It's for the person who's all show. They've got the flashy hat, the expensive boots, but if you actually look out in the pasture, there's nothing. No cattle. It means they've got the appearance of wealth, but no actual substance to back it up.
And this is wild. The research showed that a lot of the people who look the most successful, people in high-status jobs, often have shockingly little net worth. They're making huge salaries, sure, but they burn right through it on expensive cars and giant mortgages. From the outside, it looks incredible, but they're really just stuck in a high-end, paycheck-to-paycheck trap.
Okay, so if the guy in the fancy car driving out of the giant mansion isn't the real millionaire, then who is? Well, the answer to that question is the secret to the entire book. And trust me, it's going to be the person you would least suspect.
Let me introduce you to someone. This is Paul Kiefer. When the authors were doing their research, this guy had a net worth of a cool $1.4 million. But if you saw him on the street, you'd walk right by him. No way you'd guess he was a millionaire.
I mean, check this out. The guy owned a shoe store in a small town. He drove a used old Camaro, and he flat out refused to pay for cable TV. He actually used to joke that his neighbors probably saw him as the real-life Al Bundy. He was the definition of living a modest, frugal, under-the-radar life.
And Paul's story is the perfect example of the book's biggest aha moment. Get this, a whopping 80% of America's millionaires are first generation. They didn't inherit their money, they built it from the ground up, through hard work, smart planning, and a ton of self-discipline.
So the authors took all their data and basically sketched a portrait of the typical American millionaire. And it's not the celebrity CEO you might be picturing. It's more like a 57-year-old who owns a, quote, boring business. Think a welding contractor or a pest control service. He probably lives in a modest house, drives a reliable Ford F-150, and has been married for decades to a spouse who's on the exact same page financially.
So the big question is, how in the world did these regular folks build up such massive fortunes? Well, the secret isn't just about earning a big paycheck. The book calls that playing good offense. But the real magic, the actual key to building wealth, is something else entirely.
Think of it like a football team. You can have the best offense in the world, scoring touchdowns left and right. But if your defense is terrible and lets the other team score even more, you're still going to lose the game. A lot of high-income earners play great offense but have zero defense. They spend everything they make. The real millionaires, they are masters of financial defense.
And that brings us to what might be the single most important sentence in the whole book. It's a total game changer for your mindset. Being rich isn't about the size of your paycheck. It's about what you manage to keep and grow over time.
So, after all that research, we're talking surveys and over 500 one-on-one interviews with millionaires, the authors started to see a pattern. They've found 7 common habits, 7 key traits that just kept showing up again and again among people who successfully built wealth.
And when you look at these 7 habits, you start to see what this is all about. It's not about being a stock market genius or getting lucky. It's all about discipline. It's about planning. It's about valuing your financial freedom way more than you value what your neighbors think about the car you drive.
Okay, I love this part. The book actually gives us a whole new vocabulary to think about this stuff. It separates people into 2 very different groups, and it has nothing to do with how much money they make. First, you've got the PAWS. P-A-W, it stands for Prodigious Accumulators of Wealth. These are the financial superstars. They are absolutely brilliant at playing defense and turning their income into real, lasting net worth. They are, as the book says, balance sheet affluent.
And then, on the flip side, you have the UAWs, the under-accumulators of wealth. These folks might be making a ton of cash, but they are just terrible at holding on to it. It flows right through their hands. They're all about that high social status. And yep, you guessed it, these are our big hat, no cattle people.
So really, when you boil it all down, the book's most powerful lesson is this. Your salary is not what's going to make you wealthy. Your habits are. It's not about one big lucky break. It's about the thousands of small, disciplined, conscious decisions that you make day after day for decades. And that leaves all of us with one final, very direct question. It's a real gut check moment. It forces you to decide, is your main goal in life to look rich, or is it to actually be rich? Because according to this book, you probably can't do both.